Why do we keep repeating the same actions even when we know they're not serving us? You set goals, you tell yourself you're going to be productive, focus, and stick to healthy habits, yet you find yourself scrolling through social media for hours, reaching for junk food at night, or putting off that important task until the last minute. Every time you try to break free, you end up right back where you started. It feels like you're stuck in a cycle, but it's not your fault. It's not about willpower, it's about habits. The unconscious patterns that control our lives, our decisions, and even our success. But what if I told you that understanding how habits are formed and how to change them can completely transform your life, your business, and even your relationships? Imagine being able to reprogram your brain and create habits that work for you, not against you. That's what Charles Duhigg explores in his book, The Power of Habit: Why We Do What We Do in Life and Business. In this video, we'll uncover the science behind habit formation and how you can use it to your advantage. If you've ever wondered why habits are so hard to break and how you can create new ones that stick, this video is for you. Have you ever felt like you were doing everything right, setting goals, planning your day, and yet you still couldn't focus long enough to finish what you started? You wake up in the morning full of motivation to take on the day, but by midday, you're already distracted by emails, social media, or your phone, and by the end of the day, it feels like you've accomplished nothing. It's frustrating, right? You know what you should be doing, but your habits keep pulling you in a different direction. You've tried countless times to break free from this cycle. Maybe you've tried setting up new routines. Maybe you've relied on willpower alone, but nothing seems to work for long. Or maybe it's not about productivity at all. Maybe it's about those small, unconscious habits that hold you back in other ways, like reaching for unhealthy snacks, skipping workouts, or procrastinating on things that matter most. You tell yourself you're going to change, but those ingrained habits keep pulling you back into old patterns. It's not about being lazy. It's not about lacking self-control. It's about understanding the power of habits, the unconscious patterns that shape everything we do. Whether we're talking about a business habit, a personal habit, or a social habit, these behaviors are deeply embedded in our brains. And most of the time, we're not even aware of how much they influence us. According to Charles Duhigg in The Power of Habit, the reason we can't just stop these behaviors is because of something called the habit loop. It's a three-step process that happens in our brain every time we perform a habit. First, there's a cue, something that triggers the behavior. Then, there's the routine, the action we take, like grabbing that snack or checking our phone. And finally, there's the reward, the feeling we get that reinforces the habit and makes us want to repeat it again. That's why breaking a habit isn't as simple as just saying, I'm going to stop. You need to replace the old routine with a new one and understand the cues and rewards that are driving your actions. Without addressing the root of the habit loop, it's nearly impossible to break the cycle. What can you do about it? How can you stop feeling stuck in these loops? How can you turn your habits into something that works for you instead of against you? In The Power of Habit, Charles Duhigg gives us the tools we need to understand how habits are formed and how to change them. By recognizing the habit loop, understanding the science behind it, and making small, strategic changes, we can begin to shift our behaviors for the better. This isn't just about breaking bad habits, it's about creating habits that help you grow, succeed, and lead a more fulfilling life. Section 2. Key Principle 1. Introduction to the author's framework. Before diving into how we can change our habits, let's first take a look at the author who laid out the framework for understanding them. Charles Duhigg is an investigative reporter for the New York Times, and his work focuses on uncovering the science behind human behavior. The Power of Habit is the culmination of years of research into how habits shape our lives, our businesses, and our societies. In this book, Duhigg takes a deep dive into the psychology and neuroscience behind habits, showing how they can be changed and how powerful they really are. Throughout his career, Duhigg has written about topics ranging from corporate culture to the science of productivity. He's explored how habits affect everything from the way we interact with our colleagues to the decisions we make in the marketplace to the personal habits we often feel powerless to break. The Power of Habit reveals the way habits work on both an individual level and a societal one, and how we can use that knowledge to create lasting change. One of the key insights Duhigg shares in the book is that habits are not just random behaviors. They are actually powerful forces that shape our lives, and understanding the science behind how they work can give us the tools to control them. But how do we do that? Duhigg's answer lies in a simple yet profound concept: the habit loop. The habit loop is the first key principle Duhigg outlines in the book, and it's essential to understanding how habits are formed and how they can be changed. This loop consists of three components: the cue, the routine, and the reward. Every habit, whether good or bad, operates within this loop. The cue is the trigger, the thing that sets the habit in motion. It could be something external, like the sound of an alarm clock, or something internal, like a feeling of stress or boredom. The cue is what gets you started. Then there's the routine, which is the behavior or action you take in response to the cue. This could be anything from checking your email to grabbing a snack to exercising. Finally, there's the reward, which is the feeling or result you get from completing the routine. This is what reinforces the habit and makes you want to do it again. For example, let's say you wake up in the morning and your alarm rings. That's the cue. You might feel tired or stressed, so you decide to scroll through social media or check your email. That's the routine. And when you see a new notification or an email from a colleague, you get a little burst of satisfaction or relief. That's the reward. This loop repeats itself over and over, creating a habit. Once the habit loop has been established, it becomes automatic. Your brain starts to act on autopilot, performing the same routine in response to the same cue, all driven by the expectation of the same reward. Over time, this loop becomes stronger and the habit becomes ingrained in your daily life. But here's where the challenge lies. It's not enough to simply want to break a habit. You have to change the habit loop. You need to identify the cue, the routine, and the reward. To successfully change a habit, Duhigg argues, you must replace the old routine with a new one that still provides the same reward. Let's say you've developed a habit of eating junk food when you're stressed. The cue might be feeling anxious or overwhelmed, the routine is reaching for chips or candy, and the reward is the temporary sense of comfort or distraction. To change this habit, you don't just need to stop eating junk food, you need to find a new routine that addresses the same cue and provides the same reward. Maybe it's taking a few deep breaths, going for a walk, or even having a healthy snack. The key is to change the routine, not the reward. Changing habits isn't easy, but Duhigg offers a powerful strategy for doing so. The golden rule of habit change, which Duhigg introduces, is this: you can't extinguish a bad habit, you can only change it. You have to keep the same cue and reward, but change the routine. This is the basis for transforming habits that work against you into habits that work for you. This is why so many people struggle with breaking bad habits. It's not enough to just say, I'm going to stop doing this. You need to replace the bad habit with a new one that still satisfies the same need or desire. It's the same principle that drives the success of companies like Procter & Gamble and Target, who have mastered the art of changing consumer behavior by tapping into these same principles of the habit loop. So why is this so important in business? Because understanding the habit loop gives you the power to change behaviors, both personally and professionally. Whether it's increasing productivity, improving customer loyalty, or making lasting changes in your personal life, the habit loop is the key to sustainable transformation. Duhigg's first core principle, the habit loop, shows us that habits aren't just random. They're a systematic process our brains use to streamline our behaviors. And with this understanding, we can take control of our habits, change them, and use them to create lasting success, both in business and in our personal lives. Understanding the habit loop is the first step toward harnessing the power of habits. But changing habits takes more than just awareness. It takes action, it takes commitment, and it takes understanding the science behind how habits are formed and how they can be changed. Absolutely. Here's the script for Section 3. Key Principle 2, the framework in action, written in a continuous format without breaks for the voiceover. Voice 10, Section 3, Key Principle 2. The framework in action. Now that we've talked about how habits are formed, let's dive into how you can use that knowledge to change your life and business. The second key principle in the power of habit is about making habits work for you, not against you. Charles Duhigg emphasizes that while bad habits are formed unconsciously, good habits can be intentionally created and structured. This is where the power of habit really comes into play. It's about taking action, being intentional, and consciously choosing the routines that support your goals. Here's the thing. It's not enough to just think about what you want to change. It's about taking consistent, purposeful action that targets your specific goals. Duhigg's principle is all about intentional habit formation. He shows us that good habits aren't just a result of wishful thinking. They're something we can deliberately shape and build. But how do we do this? The first step is to identify the cues that trigger your current habits. Take a moment and think about your daily routine. Every habit starts with a cue, something that triggers it. Maybe it's a feeling, an event, a time of day, or a specific action. The key is recognizing these cues because once you identify them, you gain control. For example, if you find yourself reaching for your phone first thing in the morning, the cue is likely waking up. Or if you grab a snack whenever you feel stressed, the cue is the stress. Identifying these cues helps you understand why you act the way you do. Once you've identified the cue, it's time to replace the old routine with a new, healthier one. The beauty of this step is that you don't have to eliminate the cue. The cue, like waking up, doesn't change. What changes is the routine. Instead of checking your phone when you wake up, you might start by drinking a glass of water, stretching for a few minutes, or reading something motivational. By replacing an old, unproductive routine with a new, positive one, you're forming a new habit that works for you. The key here is to not just eliminate a bad habit, but to replace it with a better one. Let's say instead of reaching for a snack when you feel stressed, you decide to take 5 deep breaths, or you go for a short walk. The new routine helps to manage the same trigger, stress, but in a healthier way. It's about focusing on the reward. If your old habit gave you a sense of relief, your new habit should provide the same reward, just in a healthier manner. This step is crucial for long-term success as it doesn't leave you feeling deprived or unsatisfied. The third step in making habits work for you is to reinforce your new habit with a reward. The reason habits stick is because of the reward. Your brain is wired to repeat actions that feel rewarding. If your new routine brings a sense of relief or satisfaction, you're more likely to repeat it. For instance, if you replaced checking your phone in the morning with a healthier habit like stretching or reading, you'll likely feel better, more energized, or more productive. That feeling is your reward, and it strengthens the new habit loop. Tracking your progress and celebrating these small wins is also an important part of the process. Every time you follow through with your new routine, take a moment to recognize the positive change. It can be something as simple as noting in your journal how good you feel after completing your new habit. The more you reinforce the positive feelings associated with the new habit, the more automatic it becomes. The fourth step is to make your new habit sustainable by building it into your daily routine. One of the biggest reasons people fail to change habits is inconsistency. To make sure your new habit sticks, you need to commit to doing it every day. You need to set aside time, even if it's just a few minutes, to focus on your new habit. For example, if you're trying to replace morning phone checking with something more productive, ensure you dedicate the first 10 minutes of your day to your new routine. Consistency is key to long-term success. To make it easier, incorporate your new habit into your existing schedule. If you're already getting up early, for instance, use that time to implement your new morning routine. Don't try to overcomplicate it. The more natural it feels, the more likely you are to stick with it. Once it's part of your schedule, it becomes something you do without thinking about it. The final step is to track your progress. The more you track your habits, the more likely you are to stick with them. Whether you use a habit tracker, a journal, or a simple to-do list, seeing your progress is incredibly motivating. It lets you see how far you've come and helps you stay committed to your goal. Tracking your progress also helps you identify patterns and areas for improvement. Maybe you notice that you're more likely to stick with your habit in the morning than in the evening, or perhaps you discover certain cues that you didn't notice before. Tracking allows you to fine-tune your routine to make it work even better. Real-world example. Let's consider a real-world example. Meet John, an entrepreneur who struggles with staying productive in the morning. Every day he wakes up feeling tired and often checks his email or social media instead of diving into his most important work. His habit loop looks like this. The cue is waking up, the routine is checking his phone, and the reward is a brief sense of relief from being distracted. John decides to break the cycle by changing the routine. Instead of checking his phone first thing, he replaces it with a productive habit, writing down 3 things he's grateful for and 1 task he wants to accomplish. The reward? A sense of accomplishment and clarity to start the day. After a few weeks, John sees that this new routine is working. He's more focused, more energized, and feels like he's taking control of his day right from the start. This change wasn't instant and it didn't happen overnight, but by using the habit loop and following Duhigg's principles, John transformed his mornings. He replaced a negative routine with a positive one, which made a huge difference in his productivity. This is how intentional habit formation works. It doesn't require a huge overhaul of your life, just small, strategic changes that build up over time. Certainly, here's the script for Section 4. Key Principle 3. Overcoming common obstacles. Approximately 1,200,1,500 words. 4. The Power of Habit, Why We Do What We Do in Life and Business by Charles Duhigg. Section 4. Key Principle 3. Overcoming common obstacles. As we've learned in the previous sections, habits shape our lives and our success. We now know how to use the habit loop to create positive changes, but there's one thing that often holds people back from truly committing to changing their habits: the obstacles that arise along the way. These obstacles aren't always external. In fact, most of them are internal. Fears, misconceptions, and doubts that prevent us from taking action or following through on the principles we've outlined. Let's address some of these common roadblocks. One major obstacle people face is fear of failure. The fear of not succeeding is one of the biggest barriers to forming new habits. We've all been there. We want to create change, but the thought of failing or not sticking to the new habit makes us hesitant to even start. But here's the truth: failure is part of the process. No one gets everything right on the first try. In fact, failure is often the most valuable teacher. You won't always get your new routine perfect. You'll slip up, you'll have setbacks, and that's okay. What matters is learning from those mistakes and using them to refine your approach. Every successful habit change or new behavior starts with trial and error. Remember, every time you fail, you're not starting over. You're starting from experience. Failure isn't the end. It's a part of the process that helps you understand what doesn't work and what you can do better next time. Another common obstacle is perfectionism. People often feel like if they can't do something perfectly, then it's not worth doing at all. But the truth is, perfection doesn't exist. Every new habit you try to build will require adjustments, patience, and time. Trying to make everything perfect from the start will only slow you down. The key is to start where you are, with what you have, and let the process evolve. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking, if I don't do this perfectly, I'll never succeed. But that mindset often keeps us from even trying. The truth is, imperfect action is better than inaction. Every step you take, no matter how small, is progress. So stop waiting for the perfect moment and start taking consistent, imperfect steps toward your goals. Then there's the fear of change. Changing your habits means changing your routine, your environment, and sometimes even your identity. This can be unsettling. Our brains like comfort and familiarity. When we try to change our habits, we disrupt that comfort zone and our brains resist. But change doesn't have to be drastic. It doesn't have to happen overnight. The most successful habit changes happen when you take small, consistent steps. Start small and build from there. You don't have to change everything all at once. Instead of trying to overhaul your entire day, start with one habit. If your goal is to get healthier, don't commit to a full workout routine right away. Start with a 10-minute walk every day, then build from there. Gradually introduce changes that feel manageable, and over time, they will add up to big transformations. Sometimes, people give up because they feel like they've missed their chance. Maybe they started a new habit and failed, and now they think it's too late to try again. But it's never too late to make a change. Habits are built over time, and setbacks are just part of the process. If you slip up, don't see it as a failure. See it as an opportunity to reassess, adjust, and keep moving forward. Another fear that holds people back is the lack of immediate results. We live in a world that celebrates instant gratification, but habits don't work that way. Building a new habit takes time, especially if it's something ingrained in your life for years. It's easy to get discouraged when you don't see results immediately, but you need to trust the process. Small, consistent actions over time lead to big results. Even if you don't see dramatic change right away, trust that your efforts are adding up. Part of the challenge is understanding that real transformation takes time. If you want to make a habit stick, consistency is key. Even when you feel like you're not making progress, keep going. The more you commit to your new routine, the more ingrained it will become. And soon enough, you'll look back and realize how far you've come. So how can you overcome these obstacles? First, acknowledge them. Recognize that these fears and misconceptions are part of the process. You're not alone. Everyone experiences resistance when trying to make change. Second, focus on progress, not perfection. Celebrate the small victories, even if they don't feel monumental. And most importantly, keep going. If you slip up, if you miss a day, it's okay. Just get back to it and keep moving forward. Changing your habits is a journey. It's not about perfection, it's about persistence. Every step you take, no matter how small, is a step in the right direction. Remember, failure isn't the end, it's an opportunity to learn. Perfection isn't necessary, progress is. And change doesn't happen overnight, but it will happen as long as you stay consistent and committed to the process. So take a deep breath and remember, change is hard, but it's possible. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to get everything right on the first try. What you need is commitment, consistency, and a willingness to keep going even when it gets tough. So go ahead, take that first step. The journey might be challenging, but the rewards are worth it. Here's the script for Section 5, Key Principle 4. 1-200-150-0 words for the power of habit, why we do what we do in life and business by Charles Duhigg. Section 5, Key Principle 4. Long-term wealth building long-term wealth isn't just about striking it rich overnight or hitting a big jackpot. It's about creating systems that continue to work for you even when you're not actively involved. When we think of wealth, we often think of quick success stories or dramatic windfalls, but the true path to lasting wealth is much different. It's about consistency, strategy, and creating habits that will serve you in the long run. This is where habits play a crucial role, especially in the framework laid out by Charles Duhigg in The Power of Habit. Duhigg makes an essential point that wealth, much like any other goal or dream, doesn't come from a single action or event. It's built through consistent efforts, maintaining a steady approach, and making thoughtful decisions over time. To build true wealth, whether financial, personal, or even relational, you must make consistency the cornerstone of your strategy. The importance of consistency. The first thing Duhigg points out when it comes to changing habits or building something sustainable is the importance of consistency. While rapid success is possible and sometimes even necessary, long-term success is built on reliable, consistent actions. The fast lane isn't about quick get-rich schemes. It's about building systems that work for you even when you're not working. If you want long-term wealth, whether it's financial or personal, you need to make consistency the cornerstone of your strategy. Here's the thing, anyone can make money fast, but can they sustain it? Can they keep growing, keep scaling, and keep improving? That's where many people fail. The initial success comes easily, but the real challenge is building wealth in a way that doesn't burn out. This is where the habit loop, the concept we've discussed earlier, can be applied. By building habits that help you manage time, build systems, and stay on course, you create the consistency that fuels long-term wealth. In the world of business, especially, consistency is what separates successful companies from the ones that eventually collapse. It's not just about a big idea or a revolutionary product. The companies that make the leap from good to great are the ones that create scalable systems. These companies implement processes and habits that are sustainable, not just for today, but for the long haul. It's about setting up structures that can grow even when you're not actively working. As you create new habits in your business, you'll build systems that continue to generate income for you over time. Sustainability is key. Let's break it down a bit further. Sustainability is key. Rapid growth can sometimes be achieved, but it's never lasting if the foundations aren't solid. Duhigg points out that creating habits that work for you means making long-term decisions, not short-term ones. When it comes to business and wealth in general, you must make decisions with long-term sustainability in mind. This brings us to the first important tip for building long-term wealth: consistency in your habits. The more consistent your actions are, the more predictable your results will be. And that predictability is what you need to grow wealth. In the early stages of any venture, the temptation is often to chase the quickest returns, the flashy, immediate results. However, successful entrepreneurs know that true growth comes when the systems they create are scalable, adaptable, and can withstand market fluctuations. You don't have to push for massive growth every single year, but it's the sustained effort that creates value, growth, and ultimately wealth. The process may not be quick, but it's steady, which is why it's the foundation for long-term success. Tips for sustainability. Let's look at some key ways to maintain and grow wealth for the long term. First and foremost, you need to reinvent your business model regularly. Even the most successful businesses need to adapt and innovate. In today's fast-moving world, staying static is dangerous. Whether you're in real estate, tech, or consumer goods, the market changes, so must you. Every successful business knows that consistent reinvestment in terms of time, money, and resources is a requirement. If you're not reinvesting in your business, it will plateau. Reinvestment is the key. If your business is making profits, don't just treat them as personal income, treat them as fuel for the next stage of growth. This could mean hiring new talent, upgrading technology, expanding marketing efforts, or launching new products. The goal is to make sure that the money your business generates continues to grow and expand itself. This is how businesses build momentum and eventually break the ceiling. If you're not reinvesting, you're not really growing. A business that is not reinvesting in itself becomes stagnant. And the worst thing for any entrepreneur or business owner is complacency. The minute you stop reinvesting and improving your business is the moment competitors will pass you by. The market is always evolving and you need to stay ahead of it. Even small improvements to your products, services, and customer experience can lead to long-term success and sustained growth. Whether it's upgrading your website, improving customer service, or improving employee training, every reinvestment builds value into the long-term framework of your business. Diversification as a strategy. Let's take this a step further. Diversification is another important factor in building long-term wealth. While your core business model should remain consistent, diversifying your income sources will give you more financial stability. This might mean expanding into new markets, offering different products, or even investing in side businesses or real estate. Think about it this way: if your wealth is tied to one source and something happens to that source, you could be in trouble. But if you diversify, spreading your wealth across different assets, businesses, and investments, you significantly reduce the risk of losing everything. For example, consider companies that are heavily invested in technology. When the tech market hits a downturn, those companies could suffer. But if they've diversified into other areas like consumer goods or services, they have a safety net. Diversifying your wealth isn't just about splitting assets into different places. It's about thinking strategically about where you put your resources. Real estate is a great example. As real estate values rise, you might be able to gain significant returns on investment. But again, you must be strategic. The key here is to consistently look for new opportunities while keeping your eyes on your core goals. Diversification should not distract you from your primary business or income sources. It should complement them. As you grow your wealth and income sources, the idea is to ensure that you don't become dependent on any single revenue stream. Ideally, you'll want to make sure your wealth grows in multiple ways, which provide stability and security. The importance of learning and adapting. Another vital part of long-term sustainability is continually learning and adapting. Wealth isn't built just by following old methods. The market, technology, and even consumer behavior are constantly evolving. So, as an entrepreneur or business owner, you have to be in a continuous state of learning and improving. This means reading books, attending workshops, networking with other professionals, and constantly looking for ways to improve your strategies and systems. The most successful individuals and businesses are those who never stop learning. Just as habits evolve over time, so too should your business strategies. By staying ahead of the curve, you will always be prepared for what comes next. Remember, the ability to adapt is one of the most powerful tools you can use for long-term wealth building. Consider how technology impacts every industry. Even if you're not in tech, it's important to stay informed and be ready to integrate new innovations. Businesses that fail to adapt often fall behind, and quickly. The companies that succeed over time are those that constantly innovate, improve, and adjust their strategies to meet changing demands. Long-term planning. Finally, there's long-term planning. You might feel the temptation to focus only on short-term gains, especially when you're seeing results. However, if you want to build sustainable wealth, you need to think about where you want to be in 5, 10, or even 20 years. Setting clear, long-term goals is vital. This means creating a vision for your business or your wealth that extends beyond today's paycheck. It's about creating a roadmap that includes both short-term milestones and long-term objectives. Every decision you make should bring you closer to that bigger vision. Many successful individuals and businesses create 5-year, 10-year, or even 20-year plans that outline specific goals and milestones. These goals can include things like market expansion, product diversification, retirement savings, or even philanthropic contributions. The important thing is that you have a clear vision of where you want to go. and then build systems, habits, and strategies to help you get there. Building long-term wealth requires patience and strategy. It's easy to get caught up in the fast-pacing rush of chasing immediate profits. But remember that wealth is built over time. Keep your eye on the bigger picture, continue to reinvest and diversify, and stay committed to continual learning. The process isn't always glamorous, but it's the foundation for sustainable success. In the end, long-term wealth building is about building something that lasts, not just something that works for a moment. By focusing on consistency, strategic reinvestment, diversification, and continual learning, you can create wealth that will support you and your family for years to come. Conclusion. Now that we've explored how habits shape our lives and how we can use that knowledge to transform our behavior, the power is in your hands. Changing your habits and building the life you want doesn't happen overnight, but it can happen. Whether you're trying to boost productivity, improve your health, or create lasting success, it all starts with consistent action and a commitment to building the right habits. The journey to mastering habits and building wealth, both personal and financial, begins with a single step. It's about starting where you are and taking small, manageable actions that will add up over time. The choice is yours. You can keep going through the motions, stuck in the same routines, or you can take control. You can create a life that's truly yours by choosing to make small, intentional changes that compound over time. But the key is to start. Stop waiting for the perfect time and start taking the actions that will lead you to your goals. As we've learned, habits are powerful, but they can work for you, not against you. And the first step is always the hardest, but once you start, you'll be amazed at how far you can go. It's time to stop making excuses and start making progress. Whether it's setting your morning routine, tackling that project you've been putting off, or learning something new, take the first step today. The only thing standing between you and the success you want is your decision to act. So go ahead, take that leap, and start building the habits that will lead you to the life you deserve. I want to hear from you. Which of these principles are you going to apply in your life? Are you ready to take control of your habits and make lasting changes? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe for more insights on how to build the habits and systems that will help you achieve lasting success. Share this video with someone who could benefit from these ideas and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. Thanks for watching. I hope you're feeling inspired to take action and start building the habits that will change your life. Stay tuned for more content on how you can accelerate your personal and financial growth. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you won't miss the next video. Together, we'll keep working toward building better habits and a better future. This conclusion motivates the viewer to take action by reinforcing the power of habit and focusing on the importance of starting today. The call to action encourages engagement through comments, subscriptions, and sharing. The closing encourages continued engagement and reminds the viewer to stay tuned for more valuable insights.